Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα σας και καλώς ορίσατε στα ECO News by ΔΕΗ. Αποκαλυπτικά είναι τα στοιχεία που δίνει στη δημοσιότητα ο Ευρωπαϊκός Οργανισμός Περιβάλλοντος για τις επιπτώσεις στο κλίμα των ρούχων που επιστρέφονται από τους πελάτες, αλλά και εκείνων που δεν αγοράζονται τελικά ποτέ. Η καταστροφή των απούλητων ρούχων παράγει σχεδόν όσες εκπομπές αερίων θερμοκηπίου παρήγαγε και η Σουηδία το 2021. Ο ειδικός σε θέματα κυκλικής οικονομίας αξιωματούχος του Ευρωπαϊκού Οργανισμού Περιβάλλοντος, Lars Mortensen, μιλά αποκλειστικά στον SKAI και εξηγεί γιατί οι εταιρείες πρέπει να διαθέτουν λιγότερες συλλογές ενδυμάτων στην αγορά. Textile consumption in Europe causes significant pressures on the environment and climate. Part of this pressure comes from returned and unsold textiles that are destroyed and never used for their intended purpose, as it is suggested from a new European Environment Agency briefing. How big is the problem? Give us the key points of this report.
We have previously shown that consumption of textiles has on average the fourth biggest impacts on environment and climate change after food, housing and mobility. And now we are showing that part of this problem is the textiles that are never sold, which end up being destroyed. And we've shown that between 4 and 9% of all textiles are never sold, but end up being destroyed.
What are Europe's options to address this challenge?
Policymakers in Europe have agreed to ban the destruction of unsold and returned textiles. It will be quite a challenge for the companies or the brands. They have to find out how can they actually make sure that they sell all their clothes. They can make sure perhaps to put less collections on the market every year.
Now, according to the EA briefing, processing and destructing returned or unsold textiles can be estimated to be responsible for up to 5.6 million tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emissions. How must we decode this data? Do we have time to reverse those negative effects of the fashion industry?
The 5.6 million tons compares to 1 million petrol cars driving on the road for 1 year. So it's quite a lot. It's only until recently that we became aware that the textile sector has so big greenhouse gas emissions. And do we have time? We don't have a lot of time, but actually a lot of policies are being put in place now. Actually, 16 pieces of policies in the EU is being put in place to regulate this sector, to make the sector more circular. 60 to 70% of textiles are made out of synthetic fibers, which are made of plastic, which is basically made of oil, which is why it causes so many greenhouse gas emissions.
And is there anything that the consumer can do to contribute to the solution of the problem?
The consumer can basically buy clothes that they need, buy clothes which are of good quality, which can last long. They can also buy clothes that have already been worn. But the main responsibility does lie with the policymakers and the companies who put all these things on the market.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, ραντεβού στο επόμενο επεισόδιο. Να έχετε ένα όμορφο βράδυ.